Hey folks, how are you? What's happening? What's not happening? We'll talk about everything. So, in this video today, we are going to talk about half-lap join table legs, especially the ones that look like X. Those are the kinds of join I'm going to demonstrate today. I recently built two side tables and I just wanted to go over some of the tips I felt helpful during the process. Now, there is a little bit of math involved just for a few minutes. Please bear with me. But after that, it's going to be all cutting and working. So, our first criteria is to really get the height of the table. That, in other words, determines the length of the X that we are going to make. Now, I was thinking or hoping for a table of about 2 feet height. Given the top is about 2 inches thick, I would probably want something that's around 20 inches. So let's just say for demonstration, oops, this is my 20 and I want the feet to be about 1 feet. So 12 inches, that's my that's the width basically between the two axes at the bottom. And so this is one of the X and this is going to be another X. Now forget this other one for a second because they are both going to be similar. Now going by simple maths, C square is A square plus B square. We know these two, so C is square root of A square plus B square. I used the calculator, did the math, and this X length is basically coming out to be a little less than 2 feet. For ease of calculation, I will be using. Okay, so here are my two 2 feet planks essentially, and these will form the X's. I've marked the centers of these at 1 feet and kind of transferred it along the edges as well, which I'll show the markings along the edges as well. I'll show in a bit why that's helpful. So to kind of demonstrate what we are going up against, assuming this is again this edge right here, this table basically, if we push this plank such that both the edges are touching, then per our calculation this should be about a feet, and this should be about a feet. Now this at this point is basically the angle that we are looking at. So kind of just align this edge here and that edge there, and what we're trying to do is basically create a figure that resembles this diagram in real life. So what I've done right now is kind of place the X the way I want it to be. The primary thing to look for is if the feet are equidistant, in the sense the distance from here to here should be a feet. That's a feet, and from here to here is a feet. So that's the primary thing that we are looking at. And since I aligned the centers closely, if I roughly look from this center point, it's 11, and roughly from that to this is a little over 11, so maybe I'll just move it a tad bit. So this is kind of my center. So same thing with this, if I look about 11 and about 11. So this is essentially my reference point, and I'm going to hold it down. Okay, now this is my center. These are the angles I'm looking at. So this is basically our template now, that's the angle that we want to cut the slot at. Okay, now what we are going to do is transfer this onto the other panel as well. To do that, we are going to measure the angle of our lines. Now if we take my speed square, and at this farthest point from the center, if I draw a vertical line, and similarly at this point, and from the top, if I draw a vertical line at the smallest distance from the center line. So now I have my two reference lines. Let me just mark it with an X, This dot is my center line. This X is my first reference. This X is my second reference. This line is for the top angle. This line is for the bottom angle. Now it's just a matter of putting your speed scale. Now at this point, just put your speed square and sort of see at what angle this is at. This is roughly about 35.5, and this would be the same. So this angle is 35.5. This angle is also 35.5. So those are essentially our angles. Now to transfer this, align your center lines. Extend your bottom line, reference line. Extend your top reference line. Sort of mark. These are our points at which we will be pivoting our speed square. And then our angle was 35.5. So that's 35.5. Okay, now that's our bottom reference line. Same thing here. Okay. Now these two slots, this slot and this slot, will align perfectly. At least that's the idea. Let's check it out. Here's a better view of what I've done. Now this is basically the center line. This slanting lines are for are one slot, and this slanting lines are another slot. They kind of align perfectly if I move them a little bit apart. So that's another good indication that my angles are right. Okay, now let's proceed to the cuts and let's see if it works. I set my saw to be, have this little, get your favorite saw, hacksaw, Japanese saw, circular saw, your crazy brother or your crazy friend to cut the wood. And then set it so that your blade is about exactly at the half point of the width of the lumber, because these are essentially half lap joints. So we are taking off half portion of this plank, and then a half portion of the other one, and then they both join together. So here I set it to exactly half of the width of the plank, and then we're going to make the cut. there. There is a little bit of play. That's because I didn't, I think one of the lines was a little bit off. But this pretty much does it like once I glue it. I don't think it's going to move anywhere. So I was hoping to give a better example with no errors, but yeah, there is a little bit of error. As you can see, it's a bit wobbly. It should have been more snug, but this will pretty much do. Like once I tighten it, it will pretty much do. Here's the board. My length should be 20. This should be 12, and this one about, and the X about 2 feet. So if I do this, like I'm just aligning the X's such that I know that it's standing straight. Now if I do this, I hope you can see it, it's 20, that is good. And if I do this, it is 1 feet apart, that's perfect. And this, of course, this is our cut, so it's 2 feet. So that's essentially how you do you know, your half flap joint, especially when doing you know, these sort of bases for side tables. Here's an example of one of my side table that I've done, and these are done based on the same principle, only that my joints are a little bit snug, there was no wobble. But either way, that's essentially the principle behind it. I hope you like it. Please like and subscribe if you feel this has been helpful. Thank you again, and have a nice Friday.